guys, for today's video, we will be talking about the form of government of the Philippines and New Zealand. So, if you want to know more details about the form of government of the Philippines and New Zealand, just keep on watching.
The Philippines. The Philippines is a republic with a presidential form of government, wherein the power is equally divided into three branches, which is executive, legislative, and judiciary. The government seeks to act in the interest of citizens through check and balance. The executive branch is composed of president and vice president, who are elected by direct popular vote and serve a term of 6 years. The executive branch carries out and enforces law, wherein it includes the president, the vice president, and the cabinet members. Executive departments, independent agencies, boards, commissions, and committee. The president is the head of state. He or she is the leader of the national government and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines. And the vice president supports the president, wherein if the president is unable to do its duty, the vice president becomes the president and become to serve about 6 years. And under that is the cabinet members, wherein there are the advisors to the president. They include the vice president and the cabinet members. So the cabinet members are nominated by the president and must be confirmed by the Commission of Appointments.
The legislative branch is authorized to make laws, alter and repeal them through the power vested in the Philippine Congress. This institution is divided into the Senate and House of Representatives. The legislative branch enacts legislation, confirms or rejects presidential appointments, and has the authority to declare war. This branch includes Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, and the several agencies that provide support services to Congress. The Senate is composed of 24 senators who are elected at large by the qualified voters of the Philippines. The House of Representatives is composed of about 250 members elected from legislative districts in the provinces, cities, and municipalities, and representatives elected through a party list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations. The judicial branch interprets the meanings of laws, applies laws to individual cases, and decides if the laws violate the Constitution. The judicial power shall be vested on the Supreme Court and in such lower courts as may be established by law.
New Zealand. The government in New Zealand is formed after a democratic election held every 3 years. The system of New Zealand government is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system of government. This means that our head of state is a sovereign. The Queen is represented in New Zealand by the Governor-General, Dame Patsy Reddy. New Zealand uses a mixed member proportional or MMP voting system, which makes it unlikely that any one political party will win a majority of the seats in the House. The party with the most votes usually needs to form a coalition or agreement with another parties. New Zealand also uses a system of responsible government. This means that the government can only be made up of ministers who are first elected members of the House of the Representatives. The government can only stay in power while it has a majority of members in the House of the Representatives. This is known as having the confidence of the House.
System of government works by having 3 separate branches of government. This separation of powers makes sure no one part of government has too much power. The different branches of government. Number 1 is the legislature, parliament. This is the House of Representatives and includes select committees. The House role is to supply the government, make new laws, and update old ones by carefully looking at and talking about bills which become laws when they are passed. Represent New Zealanders by giving a voice to different ideas from people and organizations. Examine and approve the government's taxes and spending. Check the actions of the executive. Number 2 is the executive branch. This is the government. It runs the country and makes day-to-day decision on what New Zealand should spend its money on. It brings proposed laws to Parliament and decides policies which get put into practice by government departments. It is made up of ministers of the Crown supported by government agencies. The judiciary. The judiciary are judges and the courts. Judges interpret the law in cases that come before the courts by hearing and deciding cases, and they can review decisions of the government.